It's your weekly blitz with Chris, keeping you in the game.
Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Chris Cotton. Today, I want to talk about providing 300% customer service and what that looks like from your end and from the customer's end. But before I do that, I want to see how you think it's going so far. Do you like these little tidbits, these little weekly nuggets of wisdom or whatever? The weekly blitz was what we're calling it. You know, what have you liked about it so far? What have you not liked about it so far? The other thing is I wanted to ask for inspiration, recommendations. Is there a topic of things that you would like me to cover? I can get in here, put them in the hopper, expand on a little bit and get it back out to you guys. So if you would like to give me a little bit of feedback, you can send that to me in an email at chris@autofixsos.com, chris@autofixsos.com. Tell me what you think. Tell me where you'd like me to head or topics to cover, and we can make that happen. So it's a beautiful day here in sunny Texas. Let's get started. So when I talk about the customer satisfaction and the 300% rule, there's some things that go into that. And so what are those three things? The three things are digital inspections, estimates written, and presented estimates. And there's not one thing out of these that's more important than the other. They're all equally important, but we just have to make sure that they get done. So the other thing is we're going to have to hold our employees accountable to this process, right? You can do a written process over this. You can do a written procedure, but we need to get it going and implement it, right? So the first thing we have to do is we have to make sure that we have the availability to do all these things, right? So first of all, we have to make sure that we're capable of doing digital inspections. If you're living in the Stone Age and still back there doing paper copies, we need to kind of pull you forward and get you ahead of where you need to be and make sure those digital inspections are out there. We need to make sure that we're writing 100% of what the technicians do, estimates written. So we need to make sure that we're capable of doing estimates. And we need to make sure that we're presenting the estimates 100% of the time, right? So if you give each one of those 100% score, then the total 100% times 3 is 100% customer satisfaction. Okay. Let's go back to the first. If we're talking about digital inspections, what's your standard for digital inspections? Do you have to have a certain amount of pictures? Do you have good pictures, bad pictures? What goes into that? One of the clients I was talking to, I'll shout out to Sebastian, and his guys came up that anything that has a target word should have a picture. And so what are target words? So he talked to his people and said, okay, what are the target words that we're looking for? And so it's an adjective, right? So it's anything burnt, smells, broken, things like that. Anything that has that connotation to it needs to have a picture with it. And then by saying needs to have a picture, we must have a picture with it so that we can send it to the client, right? It's so much easier when we send it out to our customers. If it has a picture with it, it's easy for them to see. We don't have to write a picture with our words or anything else. Now, we don't want to depend on the DVI alone, but we want to make sure that we use it in a great way, right? We want to make sure that we are presenting the whole picture and we're using all of our skills of our service advisors. Okay. So let's get those digital inspections. Let's demand that it be done. And unfortunately, on the accountability side of it, if our technicians don't get them done, then guess what? You make them pull the car back in. You make sure that they get it in, get it done. A couple times of that, and they'll get how serious it is. A lot of times these guys and girls out there are testing us to see what we will allow and what we won't allow. And there's a great saying called what you allow will continue. So if you allow them to hand in cars with no inspections, guess what? That's what you'll get. So make sure you're holding them accountable, right? So after we get those 100% digital inspections done, we want to make sure that we write 100% of the estimates. And one of the reasons we want to do this is because we want to have a estimate tracker, some way of seeing what we write versus what we sell. And this goes into close ratios and all kinds of other stuff for a different day. But after we get the inspection report back from the technician, we want to make sure that we write a complete estimate and make sure that we have all the wraparound requests in there. And by wraparound requests, if we're doing spark plugs, does it need oxygen sensors? If we're doing spark plugs, does it need a fuel induction service? things like that. If we're doing a thermostat, doesn't need the water pump, doesn't need the timing belt, make sure we put all this together. Also, if you're doing BG services, that's a great time to bring all your BG services in there. So we're going to do the inspection, we're going to do the estimate, and then we're going to make sure it's presented to the customer. Not presented like, oh, I don't think they're going to buy it, so I'm not going to give them half of the stuff that we wrote up or we found. Because guess what? That'll come back to bite you in the end. What happens if that customer goes out, breaks down, or they're out of town and they get an oil change somewhere else and somebody else does 300% customer satisfaction and makes you look like a fool? We can't have that. It just creates problems. So set the standard in your shop. 100% digital inspections, 100% estimates written, and 100% presented estimates. Now, I also don't want you to be pushy. I don't want your sales staff to be pushy, but I want them to present it to the customer and let them decide what questions to ask. It's their vehicle. They should know everything we know about it. And so we just want to make sure that's where we're at, right? So again, I want you to live it, demand it, and I want you to hold your employees accountable to the 300% satisfaction rule. If you have any questions, you know how to call me, 580-491-3519, or email me, Chris@AutoFix-Auto.com. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.